There are never enough hours in the day, especially at this time of year when nights grow long and to-do lists even longer. Perhaps the greatest gift you could give this year is time. Not time to do, but time to be. Those are the moments Mojabes are made for. So let someone special slide into our 100% wool-lined footwear and away from the fray and the fuss. Visit Mojabes.com to browse our beautifully crafted range of slippers and give the gift of time well spent.
Hello and welcome to the Blank Podcast, the podcast where we delve into those difficult moments with some well-known guests. I'm Giles Paley-Phillips, and sitting beside me in his luxurious motor vehicle, it's Jim Daly.
It's a motor vehicle at a push. It gets me from A to B.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes it doesn't even do that. Anyway, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. It's
Good.
cold today, isn't it?
It is very cold. The way your earphone that you've got in the moment is doing a little loop makes you look like you've got hoop earrings.
Yeah, well, that's the look I'm going for.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It suits you.
Actually, last night, Michelle got some jewellery she's doing a gala with this choir she's in, and the earrings she'd ordered were clip-ons. She didn't know they were clip-ons. So Sonny, who is 10, decided he thought he'd have a go at wearing them.
Love that.
Very glamorous.
Oh, I love that,
these
Sonny.
sparkly earrings.
I love that. You rock those
Yeah.
earrings.
I know. I wish I'd taken a photograph of him just to shame him when,
Next
10
time.
years' time.
It is cold today.
It is really
It
cold.
is very cold.
Grey.
But you know what? In contrast to that, we've got a very warm guest
Very warm guest.
on
yes.
today's podcast. It's the lovely Jess Impiazzi.
Yeah.
I said that right, didn't I?
You did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was worried about it because obviously I introduced her on the podcast, as you'll hear in a minute, and I was worried that I might say it wrong, but it's fine.
You got it right.
Well, I think I was going to say in Piazza,
Okay.
but obviously it's E because
Yeah.
it's an I at the end of it.
But you got it right. It was good.
Yeah. Jess, who is doing lots of different things. I mean, she's had a very colourful career so far. I mean, she did modelling, then did lots of reality TV stuff before now going back into what is the thing that she's always wanted to do, which is the acting, which she started off when she was younger. She went to acting school and
she's doing writing a book and stuff. She's only 30 as well.
yeah,
Like,
she's crammed an awful lot into her short life.
which makes her a perfect guest for our podcast.
Absolutely.
Really. And it's a very honest and frank interview as well. And she talks a lot about personal stuff as well. And we get into it quite quickly, actually.
Yeah,
don't we?
very quickly. Yeah. And Jess was incredibly candid about everything that she's been through, and huge thanks to Jess for being so honest with us. And I think hopefully a lot of people take a lot out of this podcast.
I think they will. Yeah, so let's get straight into it. This is Jess Impiazzi on the Blank Podcast.
Jess Impiazzi. Have I said that right?
You have. Not many people ever say that
okay.
right, so that's impressive.
Welcome to the Blank Podcast.
Thanks.
Good. I'm glad I got your name right because I was worried
Where
about.
does that name come from?
Italy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Did you not realise that?
It could be Spanish.
Piazzi.
No, maybe
Yeah,
it's very,
yeah.
It is very Italian,
Yeah,
yeah. But I'm learning Italian at the minute.
Are you?
Because so many people, especially at airports, when people see my passport and they say Impiazzi, they're like, oh, and they start speaking Italian, and I'm like, this is embarrassing now. So I started to learn on that Duolingo app.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I
okay.
love it. It's actually working. I just
Yeah.
need to
So can you
stick to
give us a little taste? Come on.
Yep. Le donne scrive un libro.
Okay.
My pronunciation needs working
Yeah,
on, but
so
I
what's
said
that?
the girl writes in the book.
Ah, okay.
Now, anyone that's Italian is like, that's not what you just said. Like, we won't
Is
tell
that
you
your
what you just
go-to
said.
phrase?
It's
If
the
so-
one I'm learning at the minute, and I'm trying to...
Grazie mille, Jessica Impiazzi.
Il libro.
I love there's a lot of gesticulation happening because that's half of it, isn't it? Just
I know.
Move your arms a lot.
Yeah, I should be drinking coffee.
So on the app, it's kind of like... they teaching you the difference because obviously when you say girl, boy, they have different.
Yeah.
I don't even know the word for it, but different ways of saying it.
Yeah.
So that's what it's trying to teach me at the minute. But so I'm learning like really stupid phrases that I'm really not going to ever need to say. Like I am a man. I've been learning recently,
Okay.
and I don't think that's one I'm going to have to use at any time.
Well, you
soon.
never know. It's good to know things for all situations. I think.
Exactly.
You never know.
I've always been rubbish at learning languages. What are you like, Jim?
I did French to A level.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It didn't
Bonjour.
work out. Bonjour.
Je m'appelle
Well, because I got an
Gilles.
A at GCSE, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so good at French." And
yeah.
then I did the A level, and it was so hard. Like the step up was ridiculous, and I got an E.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you got the A. Let's just stick with the A.
Stick with the
Yeah,
A.
yeah,
Everyone,
yeah.
that's all that matters.
Or as the French say, told you.
I can just say my name is Giles and quel âge as-tu? What's that? What's the
How
time?
old are you?
How old are you? Yeah, quel âge as-tu?
Yeah. There you go.
What's that? Do you know what that is in Italian?
No, not
No.
clear. But do you know what? I actually was learning Spanish and French,
okay.
right? But the issue is, I did it both at the same time and mixed them up. So now I can start speaking to you in
yeah.
a little bit of Spanish and it will come out half French. And I'm like, okay, that's not right again. So I just gave up. I was like, okay, we'll start a whole new one and go Italian. Add more to the basket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I might have to try one of those apps because I feel like I should learn another language. Really.
What app was it you were using?
Duolingo.
Other apps are available.
Yeah.
I have heard that mentioned a lot. It's
Yeah.
quite a good one, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely helping. I mean, from what I've just said to you guys, you're like, no, Jess, this is definitely not working.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when you were a kid, I was at school, like I didn't really enjoy French, but I was like, I should do this, and then didn't do very well. Now I wish I could speak French.
Oh, it's so
but
annoying.
But it's
You don't
easier
think
when
as
you're
a kid.
younger.
Yeah, because your
Yeah.
brain soaks up. Although I wasn't allowed in French class. So I was
Why?
at theatre school and we was all a bit eccentric. So I was...
My wife's an actor.
Oh,
so.
God, we were crazy. It was the craziest time. I look back and I'm like, how did half the stuff we all got up to get away with it? I don't understand. We were nuts. Theatre school kids are crazy. So the academic teachers really struggled with us because we were also just nuts. And so my
How old were
French
you when you
teacher-
get then? How old were you when you started theatre school?
13 when I went to the
13,
main one
okay.
in Barbican. So you do academic during the day and then your vocational studies in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I mean, I got to do half of the academics to what normal kids do, which was great.
And then muck it out.
I regret it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got kicked out of French because there was me and two boys that was always like, I say the jokers. We were cute still. We weren't like horrible, but this one teacher just didn't think it was very funny, like ever. Well, the others kind of laughed with us.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got banned from French. We were never ever allowed to go to French. So we then just got into more trouble messing around in the
I was going
canteen.
to say, yeah, that doesn't seem like the right way to go about it.
No, you're never allowed in this class ever again. I was like, okay, let's go steal
Someone else
biscuits
is
from the
gonna deal with
canteen.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
What a shame. Or as the French say, quel dommage. I'm going to keep doing that throughout the whole interview. That's it. That's my That's all I know. So what was drama school like then?
The best years of my life. I absolutely loved it. Like as a kid, I was always quite a nervous kid, and I was always sitting reading. I didn't really go out much. I'd just sit behind the sofa, sometimes write books and read. So I remember I wrote a script once for a pantomime at my normal school round here actually, and I must have been 9 or 10, and I wrote this script to do this pantomime, Cinderella. I made up my own script, and then my mum and I used to live next to this pub which had like a stage in a blue room. So I made up fake permission slips to get the kids out of school to meet at this pub to do rehearsals. Mum had no idea, but it wasn't fake. I thought I was just copying what the teachers do for excursions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I did this excursion.
It's initiative, isn't it?
See, and I think they were terrible knocking that out on me because I could have been like, some big director now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got in a lot of trouble. So my mum got a phone call saying, we've had some parents questioning a permission slip. And my mum was like, oh my.
Yes.
So it didn't happen.
Oh,
didn't
shame.
end up having my show. But I think it was quite a good initiative, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the show going to be?
Cinderella.
Okay.
I even made up the music and everything, and dances.
Really?
And I was like, come on, kids, we got this.
So that show was never put on?
Never put on. I tried, but yeah, I think
And
the
were you
teachers,
going to be
of course-
Cinderella, I assume?
No, I was just director.
Oh, okay.
I was,
So you were just
I was director, writer, the lot.
So you didn't want to perform necessarily. You want to be behind the scenes more.
Yeah, well, I was always like, as a kid, running, spinning around in circles. My stepdad used to, oh God, he would be like, "Can you sit down?" He'd be watching TV, and I'd be like, bloop, across the room doing like twirly whirlies, and yeah, it was hard for them. But theatre school, go back to that, it was the best. Like for me, for a kid to be doing all of that, and then I could actually do it and not get told off.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was a great place to be.
I guess it's good as well because at that age, if you're nervous, it helps you get out your shell. Like you're learning to interact with other people.
Yeah,
you're learning
for sure.
about what you're good at, what you like performing. So it must be quite an exciting sort of time.
When I first went, I remember I would go really red whenever like I got called up to the top of the class, or whenever I was, told to do a piece in front of the other acting students. I would go bright red and I couldn't look at anyone. It was horrible. I just sat there so nervous. But that kind of, the more I did it, the more it would get easier and easier and easier. So the nerves kind of subsided after a while. But I was terrified when I first got there. And in fact, I remember the first day, as you can see, I've got curly hair, frizzy curly hair. And on my first day in the assembly, one of the kids shouted out, this is my first day, I didn't know anyone. It's like, "You really need to straighten your hair." And I was like, oh God, get me out.
My God.
The first 2 weeks, I ate my lunch in the toilet.
Oh.
I had it on my lap and I was like, I'm terrified of these children.
It's like a really soft but cutting burn.
Oh, it was awful. I just went to the toilet and was like, I can't do this. I don't think I could do this.
So cruel.
It was terrifying. But it was like that. It was quite, obviously you can imagine, it's quite bitchy at theatre school at some points. But then I just became like them. Not bitchy. I became like as crazy as they were. And so I just fitted in eventually.
Well, I guess there's a lot of it. There's a lot of personalities and egos and stuff flying around.
Yeah, and then you've got the kids that's got the stage school mums. And when they're involved, oh God, it's a different story.
I think there is something to be said for like getting up on stage for anyone. So my wife and I, Miranda, we met on a stand-up comedy course.
Oh, wow.
7 years ago, 7.5 years ago. And of that course, we're the only two that are now performing. So I'm doing stand-up and she's an actor. But there were loads of people on that course who just went because they wanted more confidence. So one guy was like a business person and wanted more confidence to do pitches. One guy was a TV presenter and wanted more confidence. And everyone came away from it having gained something. Yeah. Just from being on stage.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do get a terrible fear of doing public speaking or being on stage. I think it's a good way, even if it's not something your field is in, it's a good way to break down any kind of barriers you may have put up for yourself, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, which everyone has.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And did you have particular ambitions at that point?
I always wanted to be an actor, always. I think I don't remember not wanting to be an actor in my life. I just remember I always was performing. I've got two cousins there. They're going to kill me for this. They're younger than me, and I used to dress them up as little elves in tights and like little skirts and make them go downstairs to Nan and perform shows for my Nan at Christmas or just whatever. But I was always doing it, always wanting to do a show and do a show to people, because it was I don't know why, but when I was nervous, it was I could go up on stage and do that, but I couldn't necessarily talk to someone because I'd be scared to do it. It's just it was strange. It was either that or a dolphin train, and I heard about it's not easy to be one of them anyway. The biology tests and all this. I thought, okay, I'm sticking to my acting.
That was another example of you sending someone else up to act and you directing again.
I know, I didn't think of this. Although I did star in these ones, and I was like, Nick, get round the corner. Quick, come on, there we go.
So, acting and performing was an outlet for you. If you're saying you were quite nervous in in your normal life, you were quite nervous and shy.
Yeah, well, to be honest, growing up, we had kind of a... there's quite a bit of domestic violence that I was witnessing when I was younger. So I was quite a terrified kid. I don't really remember me being young and not being on red alert, because I was diagnosed with PTSD about 2 years ago. And I feel like I've worked on that a lot the last year. And I mean, from growing up, all I knew was to run, hide or save people. So, from the age of about 10, I went on for about 3 years. And I mean, 3 or 4 times a week, these things was going on at home. Wow. And so I was always just terrified. And even into my adult life, I realised, looking back now, once I've found out about the PTSD and how I can, overcome certain things, I feel like that there was behaviours that I was doing as an adult which was directly related to that. And I couldn't understand why I would be away sometimes, or why I would, if someone upset me, I'd just run. I wouldn't even bother, engaging with them, cut people out. And I realised why. And now I don't do that. And it was silly and unnecessary. I had relationships that never really went over a year because I would be all in, and then it just goes to I won't say it.
you're
Goes to
right.
pot.
You can say whatever you want.
No, yeah, you can swear on this one.
So yeah, I feel like now once you learn about something, you can then start changing your brain and the way you see things. And I think the hardest thing for me was I went into a bad depression from the PTSD, which I think is a kind of a symptom of PTSD anyway, which what I was told about it. And I couldn't work out why I would get myself in these same patterns constantly. So when I did learn, I sat and I read and I researched and I worked on myself. And if I didn't want to do something, I would more go and do it. So if I didn't want to go to the gym, I'd make sure I'm at the gym. If I didn't want to wake up at 6, I was up at 5:30, just pushing myself constantly. Because unless you change, nothing's going to change around you. So when I learned that, it kind of helped me overcome those things. And now I look back at that stuff and I'm not, I don't get these horrible images, or I don't get nervous and like scared about it. I think, okay, well that happened, but now look where I can be from that. Because if I hadn't have had all of these things go on, I don't know who I'd be, and I quite like who I am now, so I'm all right with it.
Was there a moment though where you realised that you needed to address the situation?
Yeah, actually, in Australia, this was a year ago. So I'd found out the diagnosis 2 years. So it was a year before that. And I found out my husband, he cheated on me at the time. So I just flown off and I left him in Melbourne. I flew off to Sydney and just was by myself. And I was in such shock. And I felt every feeling I had when I was a child back. I was shaking. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think. I was just nerves, walking around. I couldn't even think. And I remember looking in the mirror. I went out and had a drink, like on my own in a bar, and got absolutely slaughtered. And I was like, what am I doing? And I was crying my eyes out in the mirror, like, you're pathetic. Like, that real horrible feeling. I was like, okay, this isn't normal now. So come on. And then so in a way, him doing that kind of helped me, because maybe I wouldn't got to the stage where I am now if I hadn't have had that kick up the butt from what had happened with him. But yeah, it was just that moment. I looked at myself and I was like, this cannot be the cycle again and again and again. You need to change now. And it's no one else's responsibility but my own. Like, I was listening to something Will Smith said, and it's like stuck with me for like since I've heard it, because it's just fantastic. But he's saying about fault and responsibility. So no, it's not your fault if your husband cheats on you, but it is your responsibility to fix your heart, because no one else is going to do that. And you may want someone to be like, to suffer for causing you that pain. Yeah. But what's that going to achieve? It's nothing. It's not going to fix yourself. By someone else hurting because they hurt you, it's not going to fix any situation. Yeah. It's just going to make it worse. So, the fault and responsibility thing, when I heard that, really resonated, and it's something I stick to now. So, like, it might not be your fault if you got hit by a car and you lose your legs, but it's your responsibility to enjoy the rest of your life now, because no one else can do it for you. And that I just find that really
well, in the same way that what happened to you as a kid wasn't your fault either.
Exactly, yeah.
But clearly that's such a traumatic experience to go through, that's going to have affected you for so long, which it has. Yeah, and as I say, it wasn't until I took responsibility of that did my life start to change. So it's just a very good saying that I heard, and I will stick. I've actually never heard that before, but that is.
But it's really great. Yeah, I've written it down here.
But it is. I think that is difficult, and I think there might be some people listening to this podcast who have been through similar traumas, who might be in a situation where actually they think, it wasn't my fault, but actually hearing you say that might make them take responsibility. But it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's not easy.
To take ownership over those things is very difficult.
It's not something you just wake up and do overnight. Like
I agree. It's a difficult thing to do, because I remember when I was stuck in this victim mode, like growing up in my 20s, I was so stuck. Oh, but I had this happen to me. My nephew died when I was looking at all of this. I was always so angry at the world for, like, all of this stuff's happened to me. Why am I not getting any acting jobs? Why am I not getting this? But it's not anyone else's job to get me that. It is mine. And I had to really go into myself and soul search to be able to be like that now and say, okay, well, actually, that is my responsibility. But it is a hard place to get to. But once you do, it's so freeing. Like, I take responsibility for everything now in my whole life. The choices I made out of, yes, it may be a PTSD reaction choice, but I can take responsibility for that and not think, oh, that's because he did this, or it just frees you. Because if you constantly have a tie to someone's fault, it's a horrible emotion to keep.
Well, also, you feel like you don't have control either.
Exactly, you lose control.
By the responsibility, you're gaining that control back.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's not like a sort of isolating thing, because you can take responsibility by going to counselling. Now, people can help you. There are people who can help.
Yeah.
It's not you're on your own, but I guess it's that initial step, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the hardest bit. I always find the initial step. It's the part where you're like, because also it's a fear, because sometimes I only knew how to behave like that because I didn't know anything else. As a kid, I grew up with just pure fear all the time. I didn't know. I was in a cycle that I had no idea I was even in. So if you're not aware that you're in something, how do you get out of it?
Exactly.
So and until you really hit rock bottom, sometimes can you flick it around?
Yeah,
I guess.
So going on from drama school, so you were there when you were a teenager, obviously.
Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
So I was there from 13 till 17. So I did my GCSEs there. But I actually went back a year at school because this is how determined I am. I didn't get in the first time.
Okay. Do you know why?
My tap dancing was atrocious.
Oh, okay.
And I made up I wasn't even I was just wiggling my feet on the floor. So I didn't get in, and I got my letter and I was like, nah, I'm going to this school. Watch me. So I phoned up and they said, you can audition next year. I said, but then I'm going to be in GCSE year, so you won't take me if I do. Yeah. So they'll take you in year 10 and 11. You have to go in year 9. Otherwise they won't take you from then on. So I phoned up the headmistress myself on my pay-as-you-go mobile Nokia phone. And
3310, was it?
3310. And I said, hello, it's Jess. You've actually just got back to me saying that I can't come because of this, but how about I go down a year at school? And they were like, sorry, you're volunteering to stay at school another year. I was like, yes, I am, ma'am. So I went back and auditioned, and I got in with the full scholarship and went back a year at school. So I redid year
And how
9.
was that? Because that is an incredibly big decision to make.
I just wanted to go there. I knew what I wanted, and I was going to go and get it.
But I mean, obviously you're leaving friends behind and stuff. You're having to integrate into another year group. So is that all right?
Yeah, I've got the friends that I have from here are still my best friends. Tegan and Alex, my besties, and so they're my friends from here. They've never gone anywhere. I was just up there for a bit, and we always stayed in contact. She'd come up and stay with me in London. I would come down here and stay with her. The only hard bit was going up and, as I say, not really expecting theatre school to be so crazy, and me being a bit shy and stressed out of times. And for the first 2 weeks, as I say, sitting in the toilet eating my lunch, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But then I had to have a word with myself. I'm like, you've worked your butt. You've just gone down a year at school. Get in there and make some friends. I'm like, come on, pep talk yourself at the toilet. Get out there.
But also at that stage, there must have been loads of other people at that school who feeling the same way anyway.
Yeah,
really.
So I made a few friends, and the more it was a small school. They don't take that many kids, so I think there's only 12 in not even that. It might be 10 in a class. So once you've made friends with one, it kind of just starts. Snowballing, and then everyone just becomes your friend, and you're all as nuts as each other, running around like lunatics.
And what happened when you left drama school then?
So the reason I left, I'd finished my GCSEs, and I came here back to Hazelmere, where my mum lives, for the summer, because I was living with my nan in Wimbledon. And I came back for the summer, and during that summer, my nephew had got meningitis and septicemia. And I was 17 and he was 13 months old. So we just celebrated his first birthday. Oh, wow. And he unfortunately died. He didn't survive. But so that was my first, that really threw me, because I didn't really, the thought of theatre school now didn't really mean what it used to. I lost all kind of drive or passion for anything, because I was I was with him when he died as well. So I just saw a baby just die, and it didn't make sense to me at 17 that just happened. And then I was trying to deal with those emotions, and also with a PTSD that I wasn't aware I had at the time. So I went back for my college years. I went to the first year, got my full, in fact the day I got my full scholarship was the day he died. It was the 18th of May. So the day that letter came through and I was ecstatic that I can go back to school was the day he died. So it was kind of it just didn't mean anything anymore. And I went back, and I remember my jazz teacher, she used to love me, because when I was on stage, you could really tell. I was like, yeah, come on, I just get something comes over me. And she was, your spark's gone a bit. And I was like, I know, I don't really want to be here, I'm not going to lie. And then 6 months after that, one of her eyes, she went blind in one eye, and then about 6 weeks after that, she lost the other eyesight. So it was just a lot all
Yeah,
at one
yeah.
one stage. So that's why I ended up leaving without graduating, which is a shame. But these things happen, and I do believe everything happens for a reason. Because a lot of my friends that did graduate aren't even in the industry at all. Most of them, to be quite honest. So things happen for a reason, and
that must have been an incredibly challenging time for all those things to be happening to you.
yeah. That it was. I was suicidal. I went completely. I didn't even care about anything. I remember what happened. Like around 18 years old, I left school. I had nothing going for me. I was picking up the people. There was 2 blind ladies or partially sighted people around the area, and I'd pick them up in a little car my nan got me, and I'd take everyone to blind school. So my life just became doing that, doing blind school trips, braille classes, and doing that. And then I thought, and I was like, what's the point in this? I just lost all kind of reality of life. I didn't see the point in it, because I was like, well, we're all going to die. In between that, I had a really awful outlook on life. I would get up as late as I could, didn't want to get out of bed, and I remember it feeling like there's a million things flying around my head, and I couldn't even catch one of them. So I was just like, don't want any of them then. Sod you, I don't care. And I would get out of bed, maybe have something to eat, get in the bath as early as I could, get to bed as early as I could. So I was really only awake for a few hours of the day just to be, and I wasn't even sleeping. I just lay in bed, like just not caring. And then I just hated it. And then eventually, obviously, I started to pull through. And
was there a moment that was a catalyst for that? I mean, obviously you were in a spiral of being in this sort of despair, I guess.
Yeah, I took an overdose, and my mum was like beside her, obviously, as you can imagine, beside her. So I went to hospital, and it was kind of then, because I was like, look what I have just done to my mum. Like, that was really bad. So then I went on antidepressants, and to be honest, I a lot of people don't agree with them, but they helped me. I don't think I could have got through that stage at that particular point without them. So yeah, I think I came off them at 22. I just stopped. They say not to, but I just completely stopped them, and I was.
You can feel a bit weird after, because I've taken sertraline. I used to take. I still take. I've had it for years, and you can feel a bit fuzzy and weird when you start coming off them.
Yeah, I don't really. It feels like forever ago now. I just don't even remember. I just stopped them. Yeah. I just went, nope, not having them anymore. And then I started to try and get in the industry. Then I started doing modelling, and oh God, I look back now and I'm like, you idiot. I decided, okay, I'm going to be like Katie Price, and I'm going to go and be a glamour model. I was flat-chested. I didn't have any boobs. How did this idea come into my head that I was going to do that? So off I went to do that. And again, I didn't look like a glamour model. I looked like a 12-year-old. I still just didn't really grow. And basically, I ended up doing it somehow. Got a boob job. But I realised, it wasn't. I put something up the other day called Ikagai. Have you heard of the book? It's about living your passion, your reason for waking up is your Ikagai. Yeah. And it wasn't. I was just trying to find something else that I loved, but I didn't love it. Yeah. I hated it. In fact, I felt like, I was like, what am I doing? I've trained all these years, and now I'm on page 3. Yeah. I was like, what? Not there's anything wrong with it. That's what you want to do. But I was like, this is also blocking now what could do with my acting. This is going to cause problems. But I just thought, no, I love this. This will be fine. Not thinking this is a shelf life, Jess, and so will you.
Was it a quick fix for you then, do you think?
Yeah, it came around at the right time because it gave me something to focus on. But yeah, in the long run, it was not the one.
But those 18 to 22 is such a difficult time anyway.
Yeah.
Most people don't know what they're doing at that age, or what you want to do,
feel
what you're
lost,
searching for. And you had all this other stuff going on as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of multiplying what was already a difficult time.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, like I said, I thought all my feelings were completely normal, that everyone... I knew when it got to the point when I did take the overdose that probably was not normal. But everything else I just thought was normal. So, when the glam modelling came along, I also didn't have a very high opinion of myself at this point. And it wasn't because anyone had made me feel bad. It was a hard time, that whole bit. And then to add glam modelling, which I didn't really want to do, I just felt I was a bit, in a way, I have nothing. I don't see a problem with doing what you want to do. If you want to run down the street naked, by all means, go ahead. I don't have a problem with nudity or anything like that. But I think because I had such a low opinion of myself, I was doing it almost like self-sabotage. Like, well, actually, it doesn't matter anyway, because if you think this of me, look at me. I'm going to go and put my boobs on the internet. Like, it was kind of like that kind of mentality. Because because now I can't think of anything worse. I'd be mortified when I see something pop up from like years ago. I'm like, delete.
But I guess having been to drama school and stuff, you did still know you had that. There was that passion for that, wasn't there? But it been pushed aside.
I just thought I was never going to be good enough for it. I honestly, when I got back into it recently, about 3 years ago, I went back to acting school in Manchester. Started school like adult classes once a week with a fantastic acting coach called David Crowley. He's like fantastic, and he works with Peter Hunt from Hollyoaks. It's his school.
Sweet.
He's the casting director for Hollyoaks. So I went back, and at first, like, I was just absolutely terrified. I was like, they're all going to laugh at me. I'm not going to be good enough. It was a kid thing. What you did and all them scholarships were just a kid thing. You're an adult now. That's not you anymore. So that was kind of my mentality. So when I got back, I wasn't doing very well in class for the first 2 months till I got into it and, met my schoolmates and everything. And then eventually I started being like, stop caring what other people think. And when I did that, my acting got better. So it was like, I was bad because I was scared of what people were thinking, but I was making myself bad because I was scared. It was just a stupid cycle.
Yeah.
So when I let go, I mean, I went to some castings recently and they're like, that was perfect. I'm like, yes, nailed it. So just getting that confidence back was nice because I was like, well, that wasn't wasted then. That wasn't just a silly childhood thing. That's your passion and bloody go and get it, girl.
But I think that feeling not good enough is something that everyone struggles with, even the most experienced people. I know you and I struggle with it.
Well, we've talked about it on the pod before, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I was just going to say about that.
Yeah. But it does get in the way, doesn't it? It physically can stop you doing what A, you love, and B, you kind of deep down know you're good at anyway.
Yeah.
But it's this weird sort of voice in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just difficult. And I think it's not something that just performers deal with or just young people deal with. It's everyone.
Yeah. And I think it's another Will Smith. He's got some great chats. But it's about the fear. Like, we always build up a big fear of something. I was fearful to go back to class in case they thought I was bad. Like, what does it matter if they think I'm bad? Like, that's why I'm there to improve.
Exactly,
it's stupid.
Exactly.
But the fear of doing something is way worse than doing it. I did a bungee jump. I don't like heights at all. So I went to New Zealand maybe 3 years ago, and I went to do a bungee jump, and I stood there, and I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to jump. I was adamant. I was going all the way up, and I was like, I'm not going to jump. And he went.
How high up was it?
Oh, I don't know. It was on a crane, so it wasn't like a huge one, but it was high enough to do some damage.
I mean, they're all high.
And I stood there, and he went, okay, I'm going to count from 5 down. And I was like, I don't know why, because I'm not going to jump. And he went 5, 4, and something came over me, and I was like, just jump. And I just chucked myself off. And he was like, okay, then bye. And I just chucked myself off.
They're not ready.
You could have shouted that.
The rope's still the time.
Or he bouncing down New Zealand. But one thing I learn't from that was the fear of standing on that edge was way worse than the jump. The jump itself was exhilarating. That's where you got to just go. And so that's what I've been, even with little things in life now, if I'm a tiny bit afraid, I quickly go and do it. Or like if something is worrying me, I'll get it done quicker, because I used to always put it off, and that gave me anxiety because I was putting something off and scared to do it, which made it 10 times worse because I build it up and build it up and build it up. So now if I'm scared of something, I just go quickly, and it changed your brain, I think, in a different way to just get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Never.
Like, I do stand-up comedy, and even the bad gigs aren't as bad as you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
People still smile. Even if they're not laughing. Yeah, they just start friendly face.
Out of sympathy.
as they wave you off. I'm smiling, but get off the stage.
Getting off.
But that fear, that fear definitely. Especially in the careers you've chosen, it's very much putting yourself out there. I think that fear is always going to be there, but maybe it's a way of sort of using it as a driving force than anything else.
Yeah, I think so. Like now, as I say, I got asked to present some awards ceremony recently and host the whole thing. And I was like, that sounds terrifying. I was like, yep, I'm in. And now I'm like, it's next weekend. But I feel like, what is the worst that can happen? Like,
well, exactly. You
what
have
is
to
the worst that
sometimes
can
live
happen?
in worst case scenarios. And actually, all right, so the award ceremony, you might say something wrong, or you might do.
Probably going to happen. I'm going to be honest.
Might drop the award, or whatever. But it's not.
Yeah, and I mean, I did an award ceremony not that long ago for London Fashion Week, and all I was doing was presenting one award, and I got the card, and I read it all through, and I was like, I've nailed it. And I got to the end, and I was like, and the winner is, and they didn't give me the winner, and I was like, looking at the card, and I went,
What?
guys, I don't know the winner just yet because people are playing game with me here, but just give me a moment. And then I was like, then everyone was laughing. So actually, it wasn't. That was a really embarrassing thing that could have happened, which turned out to be quite a funny thing, and we all had a good laugh.
Yeah.
So, and then someone ran on and give me the little piece of paper.
So what? It had nothing in it then?
No.
What? I got one job.
I was like, well, this is peculiar. The winner is nobody.
Or maybe you could have just chosen. Well, there's no one here, so I'm going to choose the winner. It's this person.
Congratulations.
Well
sir.
done.
Anyone won it?
Yeah, me. I've won.
And I'm off.
So you started doing the glamour modelling, and how long did you do that for then?
God, it was quite a few years actually. I think about 4 or 5 years.
But you were feeling like you were going for a bit of a destructive phase.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. From my early 20s, I was in this proper self-destruct. And also I had a funny relationship with men. Like I found it really difficult to... I would fall in love straight away, think, oh, this is the person for me, they're my person forever. And I couldn't... I didn't have... Like when they left, I was like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm this, I'm that, which made it even worse. And they weren't doing anything wrong. I was 17 years old dating one of my brother's friends. And then he moved to another country, and I was just devastated, as if that was my whole world falling apart again. But I think I was using that as an excuse for what I'd actually, because I didn't deal with what had been going on for my whole life. So I was like, okay, this is why I'm upset, because a boy's done that. And it wasn't. It was just stuff I hadn't dealt with. Because it's easier to sit and say, oh, my relationship's made me really upset. But because it's with someone else, the relationship with myself was a lot worse, and I just hadn't dealt with it. Yeah. So yeah.
That's a bigger thing to admit and approach to.
When you have, one thing I learned is when I did, I've been writing a book, and in that I say about how I use these things as distractions. So boyfriends, or completely just forgot about my career, and boyfriends was my new. This is going to be my career. I have a new boyfriend. That's what I'm going to put all my focus on, and that's all I did. And it was. Only recently, and I was like, I realised I was doing that simply because it's a lot easier. And I would also date men that had like lots of issues, like lots, either abusive men or like, just not nice people a lot of the time. And it was because I felt so low of myself. I'd grown up seeing that. So without seeing, someone hurting someone, but then saying, oh, I love you the next day, it wasn't love, because you got to make each other so angry, because that's how you show you love each other. Because that's what I thought it was. Yeah,
that's what you'd known.
That's what I knew. Yeah. Exactly. I didn't understand anything else. So I'd get in these destructive relationships. Wonder why my world got even worse every time. And then it was only like recently when I thought the reason I was doing that is because their issues, I could help them. I became a fixer. I always wanted to help everyone, fix everyone. Doing that, I'm not having to worry about myself.
Exactly.
I'm worrying about the other person all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when that ends, it's another whack onto your self-destruct for your own self, and it just spirals and spirals and spirals.
Yeah, but you're still only 30. It's amazing that you've now got to this stage. You're still so young, and you've got through all that and be able to look back and sort of change your perspective on it.
I feel really lucky that I found it at this age, because I sometimes see people in my family or going about things and so on the victim mode, and so they get angry about everything. I'm like, look inwards. They just can't do it, and I'm like, you'll feel better if you stop feeling this way, if you stop being angry at everyone and go in. But I do feel very lucky to have found it at this age, to be quite honest, to be able to look at myself like that.
Do you see yourself, because obviously I'm guessing you've got a big social media following, I guess, and do you see yourself having a responsibility then to sort of pass that on to people?
Yeah, I don't preach too much of stuff. I'm a bit wary of social media sometimes, because I definitely had an addiction to social media for a while, and like I've been a bit bad recently, to be honest. Normally I won't even have my phone in the bedroom at night time. I turn it off 2 hours before bed. I'll read in bed.
We tried that, it didn't last.
Well, mine lasted for ages, and then I noticed not that long ago I started doing a cycle again, because I started talking to a new love interest. It didn't work out because I noticed the pattern and I left. But I started having my phone on, and then I had my phone on in my bed, and I'm like, oh, okay, this needs to stop again now, because why am I feeling like I need to be at this person's beck and call at every minute? So I've been able to nip it in the bud, realise what I was doing, stop that, put the phone back outside again. But it can be. So I found out my husband had cheated via social media because a girl messaged me from South Africa. So it's just it gave me a bit of a social media anxiety after that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But now I'm just I just think it's difficult because everyone it's like another world, isn't it? You've got your real world,
Yeah.
and then you have this online world. And when you go on your phone, it's like you're transported into another world because your brains are off in the cloud, as we say.
Yeah.
So I try now to make a conscious effort to not be on it that much. And as I said, I've slacked a bit recently, but it's something that I do want to get back to and focus on, is making sure no one's on it that much. But when I do, for instance, you were saying, do I feel a responsibility? I do, and I didn't before. So before all of this, I was just putting whatever up because I was like, oh, this is funny, I'm drunk, wait. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. When I was silly and young, and I look at this person, I behave to copy them because I think that's cool, but actually I'm putting this out and I'm not a happy person right now. So this isn't a good message to give out. And, you know, I see my niece is 12 and she goes on social media and I'm like, okay, so here's a big responsibility when you're, you know, it's such a new thing. It's not really governed. So like, there's no rules or laws. I mean, they're trying to get things passed and stuff now, I guess, with the trolling, but it can be such a dangerous place.
Yeah.
And I do, if I put stuff up, it's either just work stuff or where I've, you know, been filming or doing whatnot, or a premiere, silly little things that are kind of meaningless. But I will try and put up like a nice quote every now and then just to get people thinking like, oh, okay, today's not so bad. Like just something to brighten up your day.
Yeah, because I've got a YouTube channel. It's got 91,000 subscribers. So it's not like crazy, but it's enough.
Yeah.
And yesterday I put
Subscribe to Jim Lady on.
please subscribe to Jim Lady Comedy. I want to get over 100,000. I put up a thing yesterday saying if you're, and I know a lot of my followers are probably sort of 8 to 13, 14, so quite young. It's a football channel, sort of young lads into football. And I actually get a load of really nice messages on Instagram. So I've been putting a picture up of my baby, who's only 8 weeks old, and I get loads of messages. And she's so cute, good luck, you're going to be a great dad. It's actually Instagram seems like a really nice place, way nicer than Twitter.
Yeah, agreed.
But on the community tab now on YouTube, you can do like a little sort of, it's like a social media feed. And I put up a thing saying, if you're old enough, please register to vote in the upcoming general election. And I haven't checked the replies, and I don't know if anyone's going to care. They might not. They might be like, I don't give a shit. But I just felt like, got a tiny little following.
Yeah.
I care about this.
Yeah.
I should maybe tell people. And if it gets through to one kid and they think, oh, actually, yeah, I can register and I'm going to vote, that's like me using my tiny responsibility. So
yeah, it is important. And also, like, you know, with the slimming stuff I keep seeing.
Yeah.
So back in the day when they were first doing paid posts on Instagram, I did that with no thought whatsoever. I was just like, oh, getting paid. That was my mentality. And I recently I was looking at it and I phoned up the social media people that do my stuff and I said, I do not want anything to do with diet, weight loss, anything. I said, vitamins and health, fine, but absolutely nothing to do with it because it is damaging. I'm so glad Jamelia, I can't say her surname, Jamil, yeah, that she ended up getting that law passed because, you know, I mean, I know some girls in the industry that do these posts and I keep my mouth shut because I'm like, okay, we'll fall out because, you know, it's not right. You know, my thoughts on it. But I look back now and I'm just like, well, I can't believe I even did that in the first place. But you're being targeted by these companies saying, oh, we're going to pay you this. And, you know, a lot of people that have got a social media following may not be working at the minute and they think, well, I need the money. And
exactly,
you've got to kind of find a moral ground because I lost out on a lot of money from it. And I just got back from LA and I'd been there for months on it, not working. And I was like, okay, I could do with the money, but no, I'm going to stick to my ground. And better things came along from that anyway. Sometimes the quick fix isn't always the best fix.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's very true. You're playing, it's almost like playing the long game as well, a little bit and not, but it is tempting. I'm a freelance performer. Like, you have times where you're not working and you're like, where's my next money going to come from? Yeah. So I understand that is tempting, but you do have to balance it out with what you believe in.
Exactly.
And some people might not. Some people might not give a shit about that, and that's fine. That's their game.
Agree.
But if it's something that you care about, it's like...
And also, it can be, if you know, I promote a lot of health and fitness because I'm always in the gym. I feel like that's helped me through a lot of my PTSD by being physically active. So for me, it would just be so hypocritical of me to be like, let's be healthy, but let's go and drink some tea that's going to give us diarrhea. What? It just doesn't make any sense. So my brand, what I'm trying to build, would just look stupid anyway.
Well, especially as that's documented. Everything you say now is documented there. So there's no point in even having one little slip up because someone can go back and say, well, hang on,
you did this
2 years ago you said this.
Exactly.
It doesn't marry up with what you're saying.
Because when I did do it, I went back and I was like, this is coming off, and I deleted everything. So I was like, I mean, I didn't have loads and loads of it on there, but my brain of when I was 22 to 30 is a very different brain.
Oh my God,
I'm a very
yeah.
different person. So now I can look back. So I understand why it's difficult for people to say no to that because they haven't got the understanding of it. But, you know, when with big followings become big responsibilities.
Massively. And I think as
Yeah.
well, a lot of these influencers, particularly maybe the younger ones, probably got not the right people around them, maybe.
No, I agree to that big time because I feel like coming up through the glamour modelling and then going on to a show like MTV, it was very much, I'll be the craziest because you'll be the best on the show. And I'm like, oh, okay, they'll be mad. And it's like,
Yeah.
So
hold
creating
on.
a character.
Yeah, but actually destroying me as a person because that was not me. But they're telling me, oh, this will be great. Knowing it's not going to be great for me in real life when I come back into the real world and have to go and find a job or try and get into something I want to be doing.
Do you feel like you were coerced into portraying that side?
I feel like, yeah, the producers know it's a tough thing because they've got a job to do. I get it.
Yeah.
But you've got 18, 19, 20, about 25-year-olds going on a show like X on the Beach or a show like Geordie Shore. And if you're saying you're going to get a load of money, you're going to get a big following and...
rapidly as well.
Rapidly, yeah.
It's literally overnight, isn't it?
And you're going to get all this... It sounds very enticing, isn't it? But they don't say when you're 30, if you behave like this on telly, it could ruin things for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And really give you the, like, I feel like the bad stuff from it should be put down before you even give any good stuff out of it. Because if you look now, you know, at a lot of a few of the Geordie Shore lot, they had a big following. But, you know, and I mean, they're happy, and I don't judge anyone for their behaviour. And, you know, I didn't behave, I've been a nutcase. But we've all done things when we're in our 20s that are silly, but it's just not documented for the rest of your life.
Of
and
course.
as I say, my brain now, as a 30-year-old compared to 22-year-old, I'm not even the same person. You wouldn't even recognise me if you know, I'm a different person altogether. And it needs to be said that this doesn't go away and you've got to be happy with that. Like, for instance, the glamour modelling, if I'd have been told, actually, we have the internet now and this is never going to go, I'd never have done it. If I'd done it in Melinda Messenger's days, it would have been chip paper, wouldn't it? It's gone.
Yeah.
But
Exactly,
it's not
yeah.
like that anymore. So I feel like it's just one of them things. We're in this world where things don't just vanish that easy. So you just got to make careful choices. But when you're young, it's very difficult to make these careful choices when you've got people telling you, this will be really good. Let's do this.
One, you're young, so you're more impressionable.
Yeah.
I think there is certainly a level of responsibility for producers on shows
Yeah.
like that. And I get it. I've worked with producers and they're trying to get a great show
Yeah.
or something crazy that's going to like grab a headline or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is a level for young people you're dealing with. And I think there's a lack of aftercare, I think, isn't there, with a lot of these?
I think so,
these shows?
yeah. I think it's changed now of late because of, you know, Mike and
Yeah.
Sophie. So I think they've upped their game with that. But I haven't done any reality TV for a long time. Since
But it's a shame that
Brother.
it's had to take for people to
get to that point. Yeah.
for people to take their own
Yeah.
lives
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
actually get to that point.
It's prevention better than cure, really, isn't it? But that's not what's happened here.
Well, like
so.
you're saying, also, if they had that pre-production kind of conversation with you to say, look, you know, you might say something, you might do something that's going to be, there's going to be a fallout from.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, just be aware that, but you probably didn't get that
Do you
kind
know
of
what
right.
I don't get? We're in this kind. This is going to go deep now. The media, number one. Certain papers I see will write something about Mental Health Awareness Week and be like, oh, it's terrible. Then the next day, they'll be absolutely gunning for someone and tearing their life apart. And then the year later, Mental Health Awareness Week, we're supporting it. No, you're not. You're causing these problems. Like, each person is just that, a person. Whether you're an A-list Hollywood star or you're a poor guy that's homeless living on the street, you're still a person. You have emotions and feelings. And if someone's gunning for you, and then you've got a nation gunning for you because the papers have made it acceptable to troll, because they're doing it themselves, then you get all these like Klingons that jump on it, and you get these horrible, horrible internet comments. How can you be promoting mental health when you're doing this to people? Like, I think the media have a lot to answer for.
Often on the front of the same newspapers.
Oh, yeah,
I think we all know sort of which newspapers.
We just don't want to say it.
It's happened. No matter what you think about the royals, and I've got my own opinion.
Yeah.
It happened with Meghan Markle recently.
Oh, of course, she
you know.
got absolutely dragged. And, you know, why are they... I think that's disgusting. The whole Meghan Markle thing, I felt terribly sorry for her. Like, she's a human being, and she married a prince. What business is of that of anyone else? Yes, okay, we like our royals, England love the royals, blah blah. But why are people so adamant just to drag her down and like go through her personal life? You had the same newspaper going on and on. I think Harry ended up speaking about it, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I'm glad he did, because he watched it happen to his mum, and look what happened there.
Yeah,
you know,
agreed.
it's just awful. And
it was funny that particular newspaper's outlook, social outpost post, because they were tweeting all this crap about her, and then after, I think they actually took a case to court, didn't they, against that newspaper? All their tweets changed to, she's a brilliant mum. Oh, look what she's doing. She's doing this for oh, she's a mate. We love her. It's so blatant.
Just ridiculous. And I just think if people could be a bit kinder. I feel like we're in this weird world at the moment. I think it's probably always been like this, because you go back to medieval times and they're chopping each other's hands off. So, it's like, I don't understand what part of a human brain, because I don't understand it, because I feel like I'm quite empathetic, and maybe that's because I've grown up a bit differently. Why do people be so mean? I cannot fathom it. I honestly cannot understand why someone would go out of their way to tear another person down. You've got to have something wrong with you in your heart to be doing that.
Absolutely.
I think.
Or is it learned behaviour? Because I don't think anyone's born mean.
No, they're not.
So you've learnt it from, and you're clearly a really empathetic person. You've been through a lot in your life up to this stage, and you've ended up a 30-year-old empathetic, kind person. But you could easily not have been.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of excuses where you could not have been.
Exactly. I think it's choices as well. But it makes me wonder with the human brain, are we all wired very, very differently? Because, I heard a story once about two twins, and one brother ended up doing really, really well and doing the opposite of how his dad treated them. The other one became a raging alcoholic and being just like the father. So they got the same genetics, but one went one way, and it's just choices then, isn't it? Your brain choices. So hopefully everyone can be kinder.
It would be nice to be kinder, but I think, but also, sort of bringing it back to reality TV and stuff like that, we're all trying really hard to be seen and to be noticed.
Yeah.
And to get ahead, whether it's in performing like you and I or whatever, and that almost lends itself then to people having a pop. They feel like, well, this person's put their head above the parapet,
that attitude absolutely makes me furious, because it's like, we're living our passion, we're doing what we want to do, so that means you can abuse me? Do you go into the bank, or some people do, to be fair, abuse a bank manager, but like it's just a weird thing for me that people would think to themselves, oh, that they deserve it. No one deserves nastiness. Even if they're a terrible person, they need kindness, because there's clearly something wrong with them if they're feeling it. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Well, this is true. I always, for a start, I quite often in my private WhatsApp groups will slag people off. I'll never do it personally, but it's normally from jealousy or something like that. And if I see anyone on TV and I think, oh, they're not very funny, I think they're trying really hard and they're doing their thing. I've gone blank. What was I going to say? Here we go.
Always
perfect. On brand.
What did you say? What else did you just say?
I've gone blank.
I can't remember. There you go. Okay, it'll come back to me.
We were talking about love.
Were we?
Yeah.
Let's just all love each
Hello,
other.
love.
Let's just all be kind. I can't remember what I was saying, but yeah, there we go.
Like people being kind.
Yeah.
And you should all be kind.
Oh man, I'll come back to it.
Come back to it, yeah.
I might not.
So obviously you did the reality TV stuff. Do you regret doing that stuff?
I do and I don't. I mean, X on the Beach, maybe. I think I've said that before, that it was probably not. It came at the right time for me. It got me out of an abusive relationship that I was in, and I kept sticking around, and I just left my phone at home and went off so no one could contact me. So timing wise, I believe the universe proper has your back sometimes and takes things and puts things in for certain reasons. So I don't regret it, because at the time it's what I needed just to go and get away. But I don't like necessarily how. I mean, I wasn't really badly behaved on the show. I was actually quite well behaved, to be fair. But I maybe would have made different choices looking back as an adult now. On Slow to Big Brother, I'm glad I did that, because you weren't being told by producers what to do or how to behave. You just was in there. And I found that, I found it hard. I cried nearly every day, because it gets a bit much in there. You literally see no one else but the people you're with, and it's very small, and you kind of lose your head a bit because you're not. And
they're really not. There's no like messages coming through or
nothing,
producers saying do this, do that. Really,
I mean, you go to the diary room, and that's your outlet really, in the diary room. But I'm glad I did that, because people had image of me from glamour modelling and MTV, which is a, kind of a crazy image, I should imagine. So without Celebrity Big Brother, I don't think I'd have been able to change it around to get myself back into acting.
Is that why you did it?
Yeah, I wanted people to see the real me, because an unfiltered, it's edited, but an unfiltered me without someone saying this will be a good idea, or setting up situations, because they call it reality TV, but there's not really anything real about it.
Yeah, of course not.
You're not going to be in a situation where you're sitting on the beach and all your ex-boyfriends come walking out the sea, are they? Like that's not.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's not like a real thing. So there's nothing real about. The real situation was Celebrity Big Brother. Again, it's not a real situation to be chucked in a house of people you don't know, but you are real, as in, you're not being told and put in scenarios. You're just in a house and you get to do some tasks.
Yeah,
that's that. And I could very much be myself.
But were you aware? I was thinking, like, obviously you want to try and be yourself, but were you still aware that it could be manipulated, like situations necessarily, like with editing and stuff?
Yeah,
like that?
a few times I got a bit scared because
thinking, oh shit.
I don't know, I did it. I pinched one of the boys' nipples. I was just like, what, play fight. And I went, like this. And I was like, oh my God, that could go really bad. Because if a guy did that to a girl, it did happen the year before and it made headlines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be the pervert of the house. And I'm going to get dragged by the papers of being a nipple
when
crippler.
I come out. Yeah.
And I really had a meltdown. I went into the diary room and it never got shown anyway. And I was like, oh, phew. Because I went into the diary room and I was like, guys, I didn't mean to do it. I don't know what I've done. I had a proper meltdown. But I wasn't really aware of the cameras because you got so used to just being in this.
Sure, yeah.
I even was dreaming. You can't even dream outside the house. Like, I remember a few of the other people in there was like, my dreams are us in this house, because you lose all concept of reality again. Your life is this house. You become almost institutionalized, like in the house. It was weird, and I definitely got Stockholm syndrome from Big Brother. When I heard him, I was like, yes, the voice from the sky. But no, I'm glad I did it. Like, that one was a really good one to do for changing the image around, which people could see the real me and not this person I made up to fit into what people thought I should be like because I was a glamour model.
Yeah. Is real reality TV like that? Is it all scripted and even like Made in Chelsea and stuff like that? Is it all?
Yeah, they kind of put you in
scenarios.
But
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, from what I know from my friends that have done them shows, it's kind of like you go to the producer with, I've fallen out with Tom, Dick, and Harry yesterday.
Yeah, right. So that's all real. That stuff.
I think
stuff,
do you know what? I think it used to be. I think now they're trying to make the headlines, so they're like, let's have a fake argument and go over here, tell the producers. So I think it's just all so fake now. I just don't really. Yeah, I wish we could go back to loads of ITV dramas, loads of BBC dramas, have a lovely load of them, and get me a new job, a new Netflix series that will last for 10 seasons.
I was going to say, has it been difficult trying to, obviously, you had Celebrity Big Brother, and that was a chance for you to sort of show a different side to you and how you really are.
Yeah.
But then having to trying to get back into acting and being taken seriously doing that, is that tricky? Is that difficult now?
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest job for me right now. And even my agent says that's where it can be quite difficult. For me, I got 2 indie films. One's just come out and one is out in March. And so that helps because it's people like, oh, actually, she is doing her acting. I had to get the little ones in for people to see, oh, okay, so she's doing this. Because I think without them, people just be like, no. I had an audition for a Warner Brothers series, and I think the good thing is in America they're not so worried about it. So if I got to go over there, they're just like, whatever.
Over what?
Yeah, she's got the job. It's fine. But over here, I think it can still be quite snobby. The casting, like the old school casting directors, can be a bit like, oh, we're not having her there. But that was just. I always say this. If people aren't ever given second chances, we'll be in a very stagnant chances. Or give a go for it. But they're going to hear a lot of me because I'll be knocking on their doors till the day I die if they don't give me a job. So I'll keep going.
that determination again.
There it is.
From school,
I'll go down a year. I'll go back to 2017.
Yeah, that's hard to keep that up sometimes, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it can get me a bit like, ugh. But that's when I'm like, okay, go to the gym, go do something else, go and get get an idea, go and do your book, go and do. I've always got something on. I always make sure of that. So like writing is something I've always loved doing. And when I did I've written an autobiography. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I get quite, you look at that. I'm like, I'm a writer, but I don't know the difference between autobiography and biography.
So biography is
written
by someone else.
About you, yeah. I'm with you. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got that right.
I actually wasn't sure either over there.
Phew. I did that, and that was more just like I was in LA. I'd finished a movie, and I was there for 3 months just because I was going to live there. And I was like, okay, I want to go and sit in coffee shops. I want to people watch, and I want to write my story. And I also from that story, it wasn't done as in like I want everyone to look at me and read this book. I was like, no, actually, I want people to see that if you've had a shitter of a time, you can get through it. And it really meant a lot to me, that, because, you know, people do need to know there's light at the end of tunnels. Yeah. And sometimes when you're caught up in it, you really don't see a light. And like, if that suicide attempt had worked, I wouldn't be living this fantastic life that I've got. And it's not like I'm saying I've got a very standard life. I'm at my mum's at the minute, you know, so it's not like I've got some mansion or I'm making loads of money. I'm not. I'm actually probably, you know, I left my husband, left all my houses, my dogs, everything, and I gave 80% of my stuff to charity, had nothing, and I was like, oh, well, this is freeing, and it's the happiest I've ever been. So the less I had, the happier I was, which was odd. Yeah. But I forgot what was my point of that was. Now I go off on tangents. I'm sorry.
So, no,
I do this a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Thank God you've gone blank as well. It's not just me. But I was going to say, because obviously we covered a lot of really interesting points in this pod, and this pod is about black moments. But when you have moments where things aren't working, and you know you get in auditions but you're not getting cast and stuff, what do you do in those moments? Is it writing and taking something off, and is it distraction, or you know, how do you sort of get through those blank times?
I try not to use a distraction to a point where it's not a progressive one. So like the gym is progressing because it's keeping my mind healthy, my body healthy. I do my writing because I know eventually I'll have a book on the shelf. I'm not going to have it in my name because no one will take it serious. My kids' one that I'm writing. So I do things that can progress me in other areas, or like, let's not talk about the languages too much, but I'll sit and try and learn my little app to learn a new language. And one thing I did before was distract myself by going out drinking with boyfriends, things that were with absolute no progression to me.
Yeah, more destructive.
Exactly. And that I realised that was a bad distraction, and now I need to learn how to do a good distraction. And that's what I've been doing. So it makes me feel good when I write a book. It makes me feel great when I've accomplished another chapter. Yeah. It makes me feel good when I've come out the gym. And I use that, the feeling of good, you know, the good feelings. And I'm like, okay, well, that is a way to go.
Well, it's like progressive. It's like you feel like you're progressing yourself. You're doing something proactive.
Yeah.
Whatever you've done in that hour at the gym or whatever, for me, it's like 5 minutes. You've done something to improve yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's what you should do, the children's book in your name, because I think people will take you seriously, and they should do.
Yeah.
So I think
I
you
hope
should.
so.
Yeah, I think you should.
I've got a wild imagination, so that's why I like
you might
to
as well
write
put it to use and do it. But it'd be your work, so I think it should be in your name. I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll buy it and I'll read it to Maria when she's old enough to understand words. At the moment, it's just which we'll take.
So is that what the writing and stuff? Obviously, is something you're really invested in at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that something you want to do long term as well?
Yeah, as I say, when I was a kid, I used to hide. If my mum had parties or at Christmas or whatever, I'd be hiding behind the sofa because I was very small. I didn't grow for like years, and I'd hide behind the sofa and I'd write stories. And it was always something I excelled at school. Always excelled at books. I was absolutely useless with numbers. Still am. Don't know my times tables. Can't even count properly.
We've talked about this on the podcast. I am as also terrible with numbers.
I can't add up anything. If someone's doing, she split the bill, and I'm like, 1, 7.
Calculator out sneakily.
Even the calculator I struggle with.
Yeah, I don't know what buttons to press. So that, but I excelled at that at school, and when I lost my way during my 20s, I've got a chapter in my book called "Lost in My 20s" because I was I had not a Scooby who I was, what I wanted. I was this fake person that I'd made by all these jobs that I'd been doing that wasn't really me anyway. So when I came up recently, what do I want and what do I love? I've always, even though there was times in my 20s where I was just being stupid, I always thought, I'd love to write a book. And it was always there. Again, I say about Ikigai, it was my Ikigai. It's my little thing that I had a passion for, but I thought, you'll never be able to write a book, you idiot. And it would go push back. And I think sometimes we get stuck in a little society sometimes, and people don't excel because they've been told that by their parents, or friends or family members, that's an impossible dream. But it's just because they couldn't do it. They could do it, but they chose not to.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you've got to just have belief in yourself. And one thing I always say to people is, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect others to believe in you. So I have such a self-belief now that I am going to write.
That's really cut me deep. That's so true. Yeah. It's so true.
But I think if you can get that self-belief, you can achieve anything. Like, look at, I got friends that have made, one of my ex-boyfriend of mine, his dad was bless his soul, he died in a helicopter crash in July, which was really awful. But his dad came from nothing and ended up a billionaire from coal. He built up this company and it just exploded for him. And it just shows you people like that. It's a different mindset. And if you can tap into that, I really believe you can do anything. Like, I really believe that, because you see people, Tony Robbins, I don't know if you know Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
He was homeless. And The Rock had $7 in his account. Yeah. And now look at him. Like, you really can.
I
and
like
that's
The Rock.
The amazing thing about life that excites me now is you can do anything. And it's so, it blows my mind because I'm going to go and do it.
And I think as well, people have, going back to what you were saying about believing in yourself, people have, I think, more belief in you than you realise.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I just got an agent recently, first ever agent, and it was such a confidence booster. I was like, I'm like, this person wants to take me on and thinks that they can make money off me and get me work. I was like, oh yeah, so why am I not emailing for gigs? Why am I not writing?
Yeah.
I should be doing it.
Yeah, because if you believed in yourself and you was pushing all that out, God, they'll be running after you.
Exactly. And I think, oh God, the last couple of years I should have been actually working more. But yeah, I think people will give you more chances and have belief in you more than you do in yourself. And actually the only person really stopping you sort of progressing
is yourself.
is you. And that's such a cliche, but
it's a hard one for people. Sometimes people, when I speak like this, it can sound quite harsh because they'll be like, well, no, because of this. But then I go back to the victim mentality, because when I was doing that, it weren't working for me either. So it sounds like I'm being quite harsh, but I just want people to know, switch off this mentality. You can do anything and just go and do it. Like, just progress, do little things each day. One brick, you lay that every day, you get a house. Yeah. But when you put that first brick down, you're like, Christ, this is going to take you. It's going to happen. Yeah. I climbed Kilimanjaro a few years back, and I was at the bottom, and I looked up and I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm getting to the top of that. But one step at a time, next minute I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
So it just little by little and keep chipping. I mean, if I'm lucky, I've got to about 85. So even if I don't get on a TV series till I'm 85, at least I've done it at the end of the journey, haven't I?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. There's no.
But also, what you're saying, you're not saying these things to be harsh. You're saying it literally from experience.
Yeah.
You're not just saying it for the sake of it.
Because I was also in that situation. I didn't believe in myself, and I did have the victim mentality. But when I realised, when you take that responsibility, it changes your life. It really does change your life.
Yeah. This has been a really inspirational podcast.
It has.
I've enjoyed this today.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really good.
I normally rumble on.
How are we doing for time? Oh, blimey. Should we wrap up? So, Jess, thanks for being on the podcast.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
We normally wrap up by asking our guests for their sort of advice on blank moments. You've probably sort of already done that, I think. But just, is there any sort of more parting advice to any of our listeners? Because we get a lot of lovely tweets from people. Lots of people saying, "Oh, I listened to this episode of this one, and I got a lot to take away from it. And actually, I'm gonna write that book. I'm gonna paint that painting, whatever." Have you got any advice for anyone listening that's just going through like a blank moment, creatively or personally, or anything like that?
I'd say self-belief and self-care. Because you've got to love yourself, and you've got to work on yourself, and it will all come together if you look after yourself.
Nicely done.
Perfect.
Right.
Jess Impiazzi.
Wait.
Thank you so much for being on the Bank Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I had a lovely time.
Good.
Well, there you go. What an interview. We said there was lots in it, wasn't there?
Yeah, awful lot. And thanks so much to Jess for being, like I say, being so honest with us. Because I know there was some, she's been through an awful lot, and it takes a lot to talk about those things as well. So
I think as well, I think she's quite an inspiring person, because she's been through so much, and now she's sort of come through the other side. She's acting, she's writing. She used a lot of her life stories and turned them into positives, and has a very sort of bright, positive outlook on life, which I think a lot of people could learn from. So yeah, it was a very inspiring one. We have these pods now and then, don't we, that crop up where they're really deep, and you walk away thinking, oh man, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And this was definitely one of them today. So thank you, Jess. And also thank you to Jess's mum, because we did it around Jess's mum's
Yeah, we
house.
did. Yeah, thank you, Jess and Jess's mum. And we got to meet the dogs as well, which is great.
Gorgeous dogs.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous dogs. So thank you very much, Jess. That was
thanks for hosting.
really, really great podcast. We really appreciate it. We have had some tweets.
We have. So we've got a message here from Sally Barnett on Twitter. And
Hi, Sally.
It just says, just listening to the Melvin O'Doon podcast. Really good podcast during my working day. Can't wait to listen to more. Thanks, Charles and Jim.
Well, and that's a really nice message. And I've got one here from James Heimers, who's replying to our episode with Cernic Faldo.
Yes.
Which is a great episode. And he said, he put a great podcast, listening to Cernic talk about his drive, focus, visualization, which was a big theme of that pod, and learning how to win. It's clear why he was a prolific winner. Well done. Well done, Nick, for winning all those tournaments. That's a nice message. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. And yeah, that was a good podcast as well, wasn't it? A lot of drive, quite literally, from Cernic, because he's a golfer.
Here's one from Maria Constant, and it says, working on some fun craft things and listening to Blank podcast. Oh my goodness, such amazing chat about those blank moments in life. I've loved them all so far. It's replaced TV for me today for great entertainment. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh, Maria, thank you.
Well, that's great. I mean,
we're replacing TV.
I mean, I've waited for this day and hoping that
we're basically on TV.
Yeah.
Well, those are wonderful tweets. Thank you so much for sending them in. If you'd like to tweet us as well and let us know your favourite episode or what you're taking away from the episodes or anything like that, or just say hi. Our Twitter account handle is
@BlankPod.
It is indeed. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram as well, and our handle is exactly the same.
It's @BlankPod.
We just like to keep things simple. And
we'll just say a little caveat here, because I know some people have said that they've struggled to find Blank Podcast on their podcast platforms because they're putting Blank Pod in.
Right.
So just to say that the podcast, if you're searching on your podcast, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this, you found us. But if you're not,
well done.
Or if you're trying to, if you're going to tell anyone else about us, you need to put in Blank Podcast in the search engine, and
rather than Blank Pod.
Yeah,
that's annoying. It should come up.
Yeah, but there you go.
So yeah, but if you are listening, then well done.
Yeah,
you found us, and thanks for listening, and thanks for your wonderful messages. We do really appreciate it, and we'll be back next week, of course, with another episode of the Blank Podcast. So there's
some really good ones coming up, Jim.
We've got some good ones.
There's some big ones coming up, folks.
We do indeed. There's some biggies coming up. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you'll get those podcasts into your podcast folder. That sounds really odd then. In your podcast app, whatever it is you listen to, whenever they drop. That's it. Charles, have a great week.
And you, Jim.
Thanks, mate. And we'll see you again soon on the next Blank Podcast.